Okay, we're live. We're live. Let's get rocking and rolling. And to all of my friends that are checking this out on Facebook, I'm going to share screen directly with you guys, so it'll come straight into the Facebook group. For all my friends that are on TikTok right now, this one, if you want, this is behind the scenes for TikTok right now. But if you want to check out the images and what I'm putting up, then make sure you come over to our Facebook group. Just message group in the chat, and then our team will get you hooked up. And for back to our Facebook group now, okay? So I'm going to share something like negotiating deals right now. It's never been easier than any time in history. Right now, well, okay, I'll give you one more example that it actually was a little bit easier. 2009, 2010, 2011, it was a little bit easier. But in the last 10 years, it's never been easier than right now to negotiate deals, because this is the first time that sellers have felt the market shifting. I know not every market's like that. I'm going to go through some of those markets and you're going to be able to see those while we're here together. But for the most part, the market is shifting. Okay. And when sellers start to feel that, and they recognize that when they list their house for sale and they're getting less activity and less offers, that's when they're more open to things. Now, that doesn't mean that they're ready to sell at a big discounted price, or that they're ready to just like give up everything and walk away. That's not the case. Instead, what we need to do is we need to come up with situations and structures on, let's just, for lack of better terms, call it a win-win deal. Okay. I'm going to be walking you through that today. If you want to get more yeses from sellers, if you want more seller signed contracts, let me know in the comments. Just say yes in the comments. Okay. If that's you and you want to get more seller signed contracts, you want to get more deals done, you want to get consistent deals done, you want sellers coming to you, asking you for your help on deals, then type yes in the comments if that's you. Okay. Because that's what we're going to do today. Okay. I'm very, very tired of people not getting consistent deals. It's a broken model. If you're not in a position right now where you're getting at least 4 or 5 sellers per week that you can make offers to, something's wrong inside the real estate business that you have. You've got to have constant influx of new sellers coming to you all the time. That way you're not like clinging to a deal. It's kind of like if you had to go back out and start dating again, like you don't want to be the clingy person that's like saying, oh, please pick me. No. You want them to come to you. Okay. It's a much, much different position all the way around. Okay. So I want to actually share with you how to do this. I want to share how, I'm also going to go through how we're getting deals, even though interest rates are sky high. Like I have a deal under contract right now at 4% interest on a 30-year fixed mortgage. 4% interest. The rest of the market's paying 6 or 7% right now. I don't have to, because of the way that we negotiate these deals. So if you want consistent deals, or if you want interest rates below the market, then pay attention, follow along. Okay. So I will be doing some share screen action here. And so those of you that are in our Facebook group for this, you'll get to actually see this. So I'll pop this puppy up. Okay. This is the $40 million offer outline. And if you're wondering like, hey, Nate, why the corny name to it? Why 40 million bucks? It's literally when we really buckle down, our company, Home Invest, we made the Inc. 500, huge blessing from God. I know 100% it's divine from above. But we also put in a lot of work. Okay. And the reason that we were able to actually get in position to scale this business, which very few real estate investors ever scale their business to the likes of making the Inc. 500. It's very, very rare. But the ones that do, it's usually because they have a really good system, a really good process that they've absolutely 100% nailed. And so I'm going to walk you through that. Okay. For us, we nailed this thing. That's why we call it the $40 million offer outline. Okay. What most people do, when they get on the phone with a seller, someone that's thinking about selling their property, what they do is they jump right into numbers. The seller says something like, hey, how much are you going to pay me? And then the investor, especially the newer investors, they get a little bit nervous. They get rocked a little bit and they're like, and then they throw out some number, and, or they get into a conversation about numbers. And that's the last place that you want to be. Okay. That actually happened to me on 9149 North 94th Street in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. I'm going to pull it up and broadcast it. And those of you that are just following along from other platforms or from a podcast or something later, then you can look it up. 9149 North 94th Street. It's this beautiful 2006 built house, middle income neighborhood. Everything is good about it and all that kind of stuff. But when I met this seller, he was standing on his front porch. Literally, I did a phone call with him, came in from one of our Facebook things that we do, from our social media blueprint. And he comes in from that. And then the first phone call that I ended up having with him, he said on the phone, he said, "Hey, I want Zillow price. Are you going to pay me Zillow price?" And I said, "I have no idea. I've never been to your property before. I don't want to ever shoot somebody a price that I can't live up to. Like, would it be cool with you if we came in, we walked the property and we really went through the situation together?" He's like, "Yeah, that's fine." Okay. Now I don't go on site for all of my deals. Actually, the majority of them I don't. This one I happened to be in town and it just made sense and I went. But this seller, when I arrived, he was standing on the front porch and he was literally staring out. I remember pulling up in my Jeep, my son's in the back seat. I bring my little boy with me on these appointments when I do go. And I looked at my son. I'm like, "Hey, we don't have time for like prep or anything." He's staring at us. We got to go. And so we got out of the truck, we walk around and we go up and meet the seller. I reach out to shake his hand. He wouldn't even shake my hand. He's got his arms crossed. And then I felt that tension. I don't know if you've ever felt that tension before where you're like, "Holy cow, this person doesn't want me here." But that time I had the tension. That was like grumpy seller. Most people would have ran. They would have not, processed that situation the right way, or they would have got into a price negotiation. I didn't. Number one, because I've been doing this for a bit. I've practiced a lot and I've had good coaching. Number two, because I knew that I really needed to discover what he needed. What did the seller actually need? I had yet to discover that. And so what I said to break the ice, and this is what I want you to do. If you need to break some tension, I want you to think of it like this. Think of it like these steam engine trains. If you've ever seen a steam engine train going down the tracks, what they do to heat that, to get that train moving, is they take coal, they shovel it into a big furnace, and then the furnace burns it, it boils water, produces steam, and that steam is pressurized through some pipes, which then push the wheels on the track. That pressurization, that's like thousands of pounds. Actually, the minimum is around 19,000 pounds of pressure going through the pipes. In order for that to happen, you'd think that, at least I thought, there'd be pipes that break more often with that much pressure running through and that much kind of cargo load, but they never break. They never, ever burst. Why? Because the engineers put something in them that I want you to install into yourself. And that's called the safety relief valve. It's this little thing where they flip it and it goes, lets out all the pressure, lets the pressure out of the room. And when the pressure's out of the room, the pipes can't explode. And what you have to realize when you're talking with sellers is that this is their asset. This is what they've had for the last 15 years. This is what they've been paying the mortgage on. This is where they raise their children. This is the single biggest investment they've made in their life. Never take that lightly. Never. The rules of these games that some people try to play, like throw out the low ball offer and just see what sticks. Don't do it. Don't fall into that trap. It doesn't feel good, number one. And number two, it's not what they're going to respond well to. Maybe some people get lucky throwing out lowball offers and hoping that they stick, but the majority of them don't stick and there's constant rejection. You want to get away from that. You want the people that when you do a transaction with them, they're so happy that they refer 3 friends to you. They're so happy that 6 years later, when you're sitting down with the seller and they're like, "Hey, do you have any references?" You say, "Yeah, which one do you want? You can call any of these people. They would happily vouch for me." That's the kind of transaction that you want. You don't want to feel like a sleazy used car salesperson at all. Like, be authentic, like be able to like really provide value to them. Okay. So now knowing how much weight is on their shoulders, know that for this guy to stand on his front porch with his arms crossed, it was totally natural. I don't blame him. Okay. Raised his kids there. He had been there for a long time, paying his mortgage payment every month. Like, this is a big deal. And so he sees me coming and he probably thinks I'm just like every other investor out there. In fact, that's the next part that happens. I reach my hand out. He doesn't shake my hand. And then I say, "Well, hey, Mr. Seller, I tell you what, like at the end of the day, like I only want to do a deal here if it's meant to be a good win-win scenario. And if I can't provide that for you, just trust me on this. Like, I'm not going to force anything. And I'd be happy to refer you to any other buyers that I have that maybe could do this deal." Would it be cool with you if we spend some time and just see if we can make it work? And if not, then I refer you to any other buyers that might be able to do this. And he looked at me, kind of puzzled for a second, and then he put his hands down on his hip and he said, so if you weren't able to do this, you might consider referring somebody to me. And I said, yeah, I'll do whatever's right for everybody. Win-win, it's all I want. And he said, okay, yeah. He reached out, he shook my hand. That's lesson number one right there. Okay. If you got a grumpy seller that just wants some specific thing, you got to break the ice and level with them as a human being. You got to actually be able to establish rapport. And so that's what I did with this particular seller. Very first thing, right in the first couple of minutes of the conversation at his house. Okay. Then we proceeded to walk the property. We spent 47 minutes together. I'll tell you a little bit more about that as we go, but we spent 47 minutes together. And then I really got to understand. I understood that he had a realtor over who offered to list it. He had another cash investor over who made him one of those lowball cash offers. All of this stuff came out in conversation. And what's most important that came out is this. Okay. This is the $40 million offer formula right here. Okay. This is stuff that usually only our direct internal students get this stuff. So like you're getting a preview in under the hood. Okay. What you got to understand first from a seller is not the number. The number is important, but it's not important. I could give you case study after case study on this. We have another student named Tammy who came in. She just did this deal not that long ago where she got it. I don't remember the exact amount that she got it for, but she found out after she had it under contract, she went out and she found an investor that wanted to take it from her. She was going to make some money off of it. And she found out from that investor that investor had actually met with the seller themselves before. And she's like, oh, really? You met with the seller before? And then the investor said, yeah, I met with the seller before. By the way, how much are you getting the deal for? Well, it turns out she got the deal 20 grand cheaper than the other investor was willing to pay the sellers. $20,000 cheaper. And then the investor's like, well, hey, you got such an amazing deal. I'll still buy it from you for the same price. You can make your $20,000. We'll take this thing to the closing line. Tammy then says, okay, she calls the seller back and she's like, hey, Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, why on earth are you selling to me? Like, do you happen to know this other guy? And they're like, yeah, we met that other guy. And then she said, well, hey, help me understand. Why are you selling to me? Why didn't you just take the higher offer? And then they told her, Tammy, we like that you're taking care of all of the stuff that's in the property. You're not just throwing it in a dumpster. You're going to make sure that it gets to a good charity. We like that you've been so responsive for us. We like that every time that we pick up the phone, you've been there and been available for us. And that's why we want to work with you. And she said, okay, yeah. She closed that deal. She made her 20,000 or so on that property. But the most important thing is that's a lesson for you and I. It's not just the number. It's not. I did 6449 Shield Drive, Woodbury, Minnesota. Same thing happened to me. I got it for 10 grand cheaper. I asked the seller, it wasn't the same exact circumstances, but a very, very similar. And I asked the seller, hey, why? And that's when the seller taught me one of the most valuable lessons that I hope you'll ever learn in real estate investing. And that's that the number matters, but it doesn't really matter. Matters how they feel. Matters how if you're matching their goals. We have another client right now, Aaron up in Canada. He's working on a larger seller financed package. And with the seller on it, he's figured out that the seller, their number one fear is having to pay a bunch of capital gains tax. The seller's owned them for a long time. He owns them free and clear, and he doesn't want to get nailed with a bunch of taxes right now. That's so crucial for him to understand that. And it's so crucial for you to understand the seller situation. So that's why you see those of you that are able to follow along with me on the $40 million offer, the first phase of the call or the on-site appointment, it's not talking about numbers. It's the discovery of the current situation. We're just trying to figure out, hey, what is your goal here? What challenges have you had? Have you thought about renting it? Have you thought about, just listing it with a realtor? And some people will say, well, Nate, hold on. You'll actually say that to them. You'll encourage them to potentially list it with a realtor. Heck yeah. If it's the right thing for them, then I'm going to do what's right for them 100%. And what I found is that even the ones that I refer to a realtor, at least a third of them end up coming back to me saying, hey, we spoke to the realtor. We still want to work with you. We still want to look at getting an offer from you. Can you help us get an offer on the table? The realtor said it would take, 4 or 5 months. We kind of want to see what you can do. at least a third of the time. And the other 2/3 of the time, the realtor ends up coming back around to me and they'll refer business to me or whatever. It just works when you really look at it from their perspective first. Like, try to do what's right by them. That's rule number one. Do what's right for your prospect. Okay. If you do what's right for them, then more than likely you're going to either get business from it or it's going to come back around to you in some really good way. Okay. The second phase of this call is then breaking down your process. Okay. It could be the call, could be the onsite. When I'm doing an onsite with a seller, I have my iPad. I'm going through a little PowerPoint deck we call the perfect presentation. I'm walking them through our entire process. They need to understand it. They need to feel comfortable. Remember, this asset sale, this is the biggest asset that they've sold in their life. Their 401k is probably not as much value as their piece of real estate. It's probably not. And so we have to really make them feel comfortable. And part of that is the process itself. And so I walk them through the whole process. This is what title company we use. This is what happens after we come to an agreement. We sign a purchase agreement. By the way, I have a copy of one right here for you. We'll go through it later today together. The title company is going to be reaching out to you. They're going to need to do a title search. They're going to probably need to get some kind of documentation showing that you are who you say you are, stuff like that. There's going to be an inspection. So I'm giving you like my process. You're going to insert your process. If your process is different than that, you go through that with them step by step. You want them to really know and understand what that looks like. Okay. Then we can come to this phase of commitments in numbers and things like that. That's usually not until about a half hour after working with a seller that we get to that whole commitment stage. Okay. So don't try to rush this process. If you're really trying to work with a seller and get these incredible win-win deals where you pick up amazing opportunity and the seller feels good and wants to refer you to other people, then you got to slow it down a little bit. Stop talking about numbers in the beginning. Get to understand their goals. Get to understand what they're really trying to accomplish. Do you even know if they got a new house picked out yet? Are they moving to a rental? If you don't know that and you're talking about numbers, it's way too early. Okay. Use that as your temperature check. Like, do you know what they're doing as their next housing stop? Okay. In case you're wondering what happened with 9149 North 94th Street up in Milwaukee, I ended up walking out after 47 minutes with a signed contract. This is after he had a cash offer given to him. This is after a realtor went in and tried to list his property for sale. I just asked him point blank, after I knew all this stuff, I asked him point blank and I'm like, hey, Mr. Seller, help me understand, why didn't you list it? Okay, cool. And then also, why didn't you sell it to the cash buyer? And he told me, and I'm like, okay, cool. I get that. I understand that, but we're here now. What do you really need out of this? What are you trying to accomplish? And he told me, he's like, Nate, I didn't list it with the realtor because the realtor wanted me to do a bunch of repairs. I don't have capital for that. I don't have time for that. The cash buyer, he came in way too low, would have left me nothing. After paying off the mortgage, I would have had nothing left. And I'm like, well, what do you really need? And he said, well, Nate, I got to pack up and move. I lost my job here. I got a new job. My brother got me a job in a new city. I got to pack up and move, but it's going to be expensive. I'm like, well, what are we talking? Like, what do you need to be able to pack up and move? He said, I need $7,000. I said, if I can get you $7,000, are you cool if I just step in and take over everything? Your mortgage, your taxes, your insurance. You don't have to do it. No repairs, nothing like that. I just take over. He's like, well, what would that mean? And then I explained to him what that would mean. And he starts talking with his wife and they go back and forth. And then they come back to me and he's like, yeah, we'd do it. He put out his hand. He shook my hand. Coming from the guy that had arms crossed in the beginning of the conversation to him reaching out and shaking my hand. I took over his property, his 2006 built newer construction house for $7,000. Now, yes, there was a mortgage in place, $118,000 mortgage. Yes, I did have to do a little bit of cleanup. I sent my father-in-law over. He met with a contractor. They did painting touch-ups. They did appliances and they did a deep clean. It just had odors to it, pets and cooking and stuff like that. Shampooed the carpets, cleaned that place up, turned around and listed it. I should have kept it, but turned around and listed it for $189,000. Sold the first day of market. Sold to a lovely family. The family that bought it, it was a husband and wife when we went under contract. And they had 3 kids and this is their first house. They were so excited. And the husband died during the escrow. It's crazy. Died during escrow, right before closing. And we were still able to make it happen. We had to extend closing a little bit, but we were still able to make it happen where the wife and the kids got the house. And yeah, so it's pretty cool, like happy ending. I remember texting the seller after we got his mortgage paid off. He was so ecstatic. He texts back, "Oh, amazing," because he didn't think I was going to pay it off that fast. He thought it was going to take some years and whatnot, because that's kind of what I had set it up for, but it paid off super fast. And so he was happy. I'm happy. Buyer's happy. That's win, win, win. Okay. I would have never got there if I didn't know what the seller really wanted. Okay. So we got to slow down these conversations. Don't let the grumpy facade fool you. It's not that they're mean people or bitter. They're trying to defend themselves. They think that they're entering this like Shark Tank negotiation. Like that's what they have in their head, this perception. They shouldn't, but they do. They're defending the biggest asset that they put the most time and money into in their life. So of course they're going to have that facade. And you just have to understand that that's the facade. You let them have that. And then just come in and cool, casual, no pressure, no stress. There's no strong arm. There's no sales to this at all. You're just being authentic. Try to serve them first. They'll feel that. You feel that. You know that when it's happening. So like they do too. So we have to have that. Okay. So I've got a deal right now, Nashville, Tennessee, that I'm locked up, and I'm going to teach you this little, who would like to know a method to get mortgage interest rates 2% to 4% below the market? Say yes in the chat if you'd like to get 2% to 4% below the market for interest rates. Would that be cool? You can click the like button, either one. Yeah. Okay, cool. So this is how you do it. Okay. You're going to go, I'm going to teach you how to find these properties, but I want to teach you that as an example. And then I want to tell you the best way to do it. Okay. So I'm going to use Zillow as a quick example. Okay. You're going to go to Zillow.com. You're going to click on the big buy button in the upper left-hand corner. Okay. And then what you're going to do is there's this little box called more. You're going to click that box and you're going to scroll all the way down to where it says keywords. And I want you to type the word assumable, ASSUM. Assume, ASSUMABLE. Yes, I can still spell. It's funny. I'm doing multiplication tables with my son, my 9-year-old, and we're doing 3s and 4s. And how do you do 4 times 13? And I got all this stuff bouncing in my head today. Anyways, assumable. You're going to type the word assumable in the keyword search. You're going to click the apply button, and then you're going to see, you'll need to zoom out a little bit because whatever city it defaulted to, it's probably too small of a city, but zoom out a little bit. Start clicking on some of those and tell me what you see. You click on it and then scroll down into the comment section, the overview. Okay. And what you're looking for is the word assumable. Okay. Sometimes it's going to talk about taxes. Sometimes it's going to talk about like some solar panel assumption of the lease. You don't want that stuff. What I'm looking for is a straight up assumption of mortgage. So it won't be every single one, but it's probably like 1 out of 3. I just clicked on 2 or 3 as we're kind of talking here, and I found one on the second one. Okay. It says right here, the home has an assumable loan. This is 916 Olson Road in Belvedere, Illinois. The home has an assumable loan of $340,000 at 3.3%. 3.3%. 3.3%. Holy cow. Let me put that in perspective. If you go get a loan for this property today at today's interest rates, you're probably going to pay, if it's an investor loan, you're probably going to pay somewhere around 7% interest. Okay, 7% interest. If it's owner occupied, maybe you'll get it in the low 5s. Okay. This one you can pick up at 3.3%. 3.3%. So that means that the monthly payments, if you equate buying this property for $500,000 at a 7% interest rate versus buying it for $500,000, assuming the existing loan of $340,000, my payment is probably going to be half of what someone else's payment would be if they went and got a new loan for this property. Okay. Holy cow. This should be a big light bulb moment. Okay. There's tons of these properties. They're listed all over the country right now, right on Zillow. Now, I'm going to burst a little bubble on this. Okay. I don't like buying them off of Zillow. I don't like buying them through realtors When you buy them through realtors, no respect. I love realtors. I do for selling my properties. I love realtors, but for buying properties, I do not love realtors. The realtors, they don't always understand how this assumption works. They don't understand creative finance. They never like go to school for that stuff. They go to school for like straight up real estate transactions. I know because I was a licensed realtor for a long time. I'm not anymore. Okay. But anyways, because of that, like they muddy these transactions. Okay. So I like to buy them by using social media to bring sellers directly to me. That's the best way to buy them. Because then when you're sitting down with the seller directly, you can structure it in a true win-win, just like I did for the seller on the last property that I just showed you. Okay. So structure them directly with sellers. I'm using Zillow to show you how to find them. And just so it's a quick example and you understand how to do it. Sometimes I got the question here in the chat about, well, hey, what about the balance of it? If the mortgage loan is at $340,000 and I'm paying $500,000 for it, how do I take care of that, the difference between the two? When I'm direct with the seller, I just have the seller turn that into a second mortgage. I just say, hey, Mr. Seller, here's what we can do to protect your balance. I'm going to do two things. Number one, I'm going to make a monthly payment to your bank every single month at the 3.3% interest, blah, blah, blah. And then I'm also going to make a monthly payment to you every month until we pay off this balance. It'll probably take us 27 years or so, but we'll have it fully paid off. And if they're like, well, hey, I need my cash sooner. Then I say, well, hey, how much cash do you need and when is sooner? And then I'll model it out. If I can get them that and it makes sense, cool. If I can't, then I'm just honest with them and say, hey, you know what? I'd love to do that, but I can't right away. How about after 5 years, I get you a big chunk like that? And then usually we can find some middle ground on that. Okay. So this is like, boom. I see someone drop the Cupid arrow popping. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like when someone first showed me this, I was like, holy cow, this is amazing. You can actually get loans at 3.3% interest. Yes, you can. I have a $700,000 property at 4% under contract right now. Yes, you can. You absolutely can. Okay. I'm not like some child genius prodigy or anything like that. I've just been in the game for a long time. So I know how to look for this stuff. So you can do it too, is my point. You can do this. Okay. Last thing that I promise is how you can start creating better deals and it won't cost you a penny out of pocket. Okay. I showed you one of them, Zillow. It's free. You could go buy this stuff through brokers and stuff. I don't recommend that. The second method that I'm going to show you or tell you about rather is this. I want you to get used to using social media platforms. Okay. I'm talking to you right now doing this. Okay. And we're able to interact back and forth and all that kind of stuff. You can see the power of this, like the reach of this for just this kind of conversation. Did you know that the same stuff works for sellers direct too? Yeah, you can actually get sellers to respond to you. You can communicate with them. And no, you don't have to do all of this stuff that I'm doing right now. You don't. Okay. There's Facebook ads, which are really, really inexpensive, little things that you can put up that you say, hey, if you're thinking about selling, click here, fill out the form, and then they send you the information. You can do it in Facebook groups. You could do it through a series of posts. The tricky part for all of that and where people get stuck, like, let me ask you this. Do you feel like if you had leads coming to you, if you already had the lead part figured out, all of these sellers just coming to you, asking you if you can help, if you can give them an offer. Now, what I just showed you, like how to talk to these sellers, do you feel like you would do better in this business if you just had leads automatically coming to you? Let me know with a yes in the chat. Do you feel like if you had leads coming in on demand, would you be able to make this happen? Would you be able to sit down with a seller or talk to a seller on the phone, be honest with them, be authentic with them, present a win-win offer to them so that you both can cash in? They can leave the property and then you can make money off the property. Do you feel like you'd be able to do that? Yeah. Yes. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Then what I'm going to recommend is this, that you figure out how to use social media. Okay. The best way that I can probably do that, number one, hang out in our Facebook group. We do a lot of trainings on it. There's actually some trainings in the old ones, but I want you to physically see how to do this. Okay. It's not just like, some people use social media to talk about what they had for dinner last night. I don't use social media for that at all. I use social media to put together business. Okay. And I want to show you how to do that. What I would recommend to you is that you come to our next 3-day event. Okay. It's still a week and a half away. So you got plenty of time to plan. It's February 7th, 8th, and 9th. I'd recommend that you come to that. Okay. For $47, you get a VIP ticket to it. You get all the recordings for it. And I spend 3 days, literally. Day 1, I teach you how to find the sellers. Day 2, I teach you how to find the money for the properties. I don't spend a bunch of money out of my pocket to do this business. I bring in investors through social media, just like this. Okay. And then day 3, we bring the whole thing together. They're half days. It starts at 12 o'clock Eastern time each day. I recommend you come to that. Okay. The $47, I don't want or need your capital. It's not for me. We're giving 100% of it to Home Invest Kids. That's the nonprofit that my wife runs. They're doing some amazing stuff. You can check them out if you want to dig into them a little bit more. It's at homeinvestkids.com. They're doing some amazing stuff to protect the hearts and the minds of children. Right now, unfortunately, the world has gone crazy. We're talking about pronouns in schools instead of talking about like math and science and entrepreneurship and how to build a business and how important your credit score is to building that business. Like, we're not talking about the right things. Instead, we're going down this crazy zone path. And so my wife is, bless her heart, she's fighting really hard to help parents with their children on more of a home environment to get them on the track that they need to be on. So 100% of the proceeds from it, the $47, doesn't come to me. It's not for me at all. It's for the kids and for the parents who have children too. So if you'd like to support that cause, then come to that. Just type event in the comments below and my team will hook you up with that. Okay. It's on Zoom. You don't have to travel anywhere. 100% on Zoom. $47. You get the replays for it. I'll even throw in a couple of pretty cool things. If any of you guys need a killer bank for your deals right now, like my assistant literally spent about 3 weeks, probably a little bit more than that, calling, screening. I got 14 really tough questions we ask all the banks. She screens them all. She sends them to me. I start closing deals with them. One of them I recently closed a $700,000 deal with. I'll give you our pre-screened lender list. If that would help you in any way, shape, or form, I will give you that list with it. It'll save you almost a month of work to get the lenders that actually understand this business. And they're the good ones right now in this high interest rate environment. Okay. So we'll hook you up with that. So just say event in the chat and my team will get you hooked up with the link for it. It's $47. 100% of the proceeds goes to a really good cause. I assure you that. And I'll be jamming with you for 3 days. Day 1, find the deals. Day 2, we find the money, find the investors. And then day 3, pull the whole thing together. Okay. That's it. That's how you get them coming into you. Okay. We'll show you how to get them coming to you. Literally on day number 1, by the end of the day, you will probably have at least 5 opportunities in your inbox, 5 potential deals in your inbox. If you do everything that we tell you to do on day number 1. Okay. Cool. Who's coming? I see a lot of going through. So just say events in the chat and my team will hook you up with it. Yeah. If you want to go directly there, I could tell you, I think this page is set up. I think it's homeinvestschool.com. Let's see. Yeah, you could go straight to homeinvestschool.com. If you want to like not wait for my team and go straight in, you can go homeinvestschool.com. All the details are right there for you. homeinvestschool.com. Okay. Hey, I really appreciate your energy. Thank you so much for just being champions in our community. I literally get fired up doing what I do here because of what I see what you guys are posting and what you guys are saying. And when I see somebody take what we teach and go get a deal from it or get their first lead, like I get fired up. So please keep it coming. And also I love how you guys are cheering on everybody else. I absolutely love that. Like this business, especially as we go through a recession, you're going to hear naysayers everywhere saying doom and gloom, like, oh, you can't do that because of this. That's what happens, especially during recessions. But not here, not this community. Like this community, you guys are awesome. You guys are cheering one another on. You're supportive. Like I can't tell you how blessed I feel to be part of it. So thank you. Thank you. All right. That's it for today. With that said, I will see you guys on the next one. Okay. Bye guys.